Hello everybody, welcome to another DVD Blu-ray collection update video, and today we're going to take a look at Criterion Haul! Yep, that's right, we're going to take a look at all the Criterions I got for July and November of this year. And if you want to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button and hit that bell notification, you know what to do. So first up, we have The Red Shoes from 1948. This is a really fantastic film. It's basically about a woman who's a ballet dancer, and she gets to be a part of a show called The Red Shoes. The plot of that show involved a ballet dancer who, when she tries on these pair of shoes, she cannot stop dancing. But on and off the stage, she's having her own dilemma. She can't choose between, she's having a hard time choosing between her career and this new composer boyfriend. At one point, he basically asks her, "Why do you love to dance?" And she responds with, "Why do you want to live?" It's a very great theme about the power of art and life. The arts, life, a reason for being, and all the different things that goes into, being obsessed with being an artist. So it kind of deals with obsession a little bit, but like in a different category, in different type of obsession. The obsession of being a great ballet dancer. Wonderful cinematography, great. The way they filmed the ballet scenes was actually really great. I have to say, it's one of those movies that shows kind of the honest life of a ballet dancer, a performer, and, the backstage drama that happens sometimes, and it's really fantastic. Next we have Harlan County, USA. This is a great Oscar-winning documentary about this town in Kentucky that it was basically a mining town, and the miners were essentially promised safety and good housing for them and their families, but the company that was running the mine kept denying them that right over and over again, so they went on strike. They got tired of the fact that their lives were being put on the line every single day. They got tired of the fact that they weren't allowed to have, a good place to live, and so they went on strike. And I believe the strike lasted for a couple Years. If you don't know the story, then you're not gonna like how it ends. You're not gonna like how it ends. If you don't know the actual story, but this is a really well done documentary. So it actually shows sort of the struggles that the miners have and why this strike is so important. Not only that, but it also shows like how sometimes these strikes can get heated. You do see them fighting. You do see them being frustrated and angry that the company is not doing anything to help them. And you feel for these people, and it's really fantastic. I always love documentaries that have like a voice to say, like a message to get across, a point of view that needs to be heard, a situation that needs to be resolved. I love those kind of documentaries. Next up we have The Elephant Man, directed by David Lynch. Yes, I have seen Blue Velvet, and it is amazing. I am going to pick that up at some point. But, yeah, The Elephant Man is really great. Actually, now that I think about it, I haven't seen Eraserhead. I don't know what that's like. But anyway, The Elephant Man is a true story of Joseph Merrick, sometimes referred to as John Merrick, who was born with this very rare disease that made him like disfigured, and he was physically and psychologically abused in the circus. And Anthony Hopkins plays this doctor. I'm blanking on his name. Frederick Treves, yeah. He's a surgeon in London who takes him in, and rather than try and study him, he tries his best to give him a decent quality of life. And he's basically the only, like, good person who has ever been really kind to him. This is a really great film. The black and white cinematography is beautiful. The acting by Anthony Hopkins and John Hurt is remarkable. And remember, this was based on a play. This was based on a play that I think was a Tony nominee, I believe. I could be wrong though. But you know, it's, I mean, there's no question. This is a really it can almost be at times be like atmospheric. It's kind of an atmospheric film in a sense. But as far as the history is concerned, that's what I care about. The history is not bad. It is not bad. Some parts of it are off, but for the most part, they get the general gist of his story somewhat correct. One part that bothered me historically was there's a part where Joseph Merrick, or John Merrick, whatever you want to call him, he boards a ship and sails somewhere outside of London. Then he comes back and he ends up in this train station, and then he gets berated by everyone there. And then he has the famous line, "I am not an animal, I am a man," which is one of the most poignant and wonderful pieces of dialogue ever written. However, this did happen, but in reverse. So he did go to a train station, that thing happened, and then something else happened, and then he went on the ship. So they kind of swapped the events around. But it's minor, but like, you know, I'm usually able to let it go if it's well directed, well written, and well acted. And this one is. Alright, next we have The Big Chill from 1983. Outside of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, this is like one of the best things that Lawrence Kasdan ever made. This really poignant film follows a group of friends who grew up during the baby boom era. Their friend tragically committed suicide, and they all reunite for 3 days of just trying to reconnect with one another. So essentially, it's through this friend's tragic demise that's when these friends reunite and reconnect with one another. It's a very poignant film, really excellent. The soundtrack in here is amazing. I actually have a soundtrack. I have a soundtrack to this. A lot of 50s and 60s songs, but they all fit because they all grew up in the baby boom generation. And it's at times, it's funny sometimes, it's sad sometimes, it's sometimes it tugs at the heartstrings, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it makes you feel for all these characters, but it's a really fantastic film. William Hurt, Tom Berenger, Glenn Close, oh god, who else? Kevin Kline, Jeff Goldblum, Joe Beth Williams. This is a really well-made drama. Check this out. Next up, we have a French New Wave with The 400 Blows, directed by Francois Truffaut. This movie was partially modeled after Truffaut's own childhood, in which he grew up in a not very, I think his parents were not, you know, well, actually, no, it was his teachers. The teachers were not very receptive to him. The household wasn't great, and so he turns to petty crime. It's a really well-made film, for sure. It's a really well-made film, excellently done, and actually, somebody I used to know recommended this to me, and I watched it, and I didn't know what to expect, honestly, but I ended up really enjoying it, so I recommend this. There are many French New Wave movies that are excellent. 400 Blows is one of them. The Night of a Hunter. This is a movie where the less you know, the more you'll enjoy it. I guarantee you of that. The less you know of this movie, the more that you will enjoy it. Robin Mitchum plays, I think he plays this priest who he goes to this small town and meets Shelley Winters, and he has tattooed on his on his hands, love and hate. Which, by the way, if you know Blu-ray Fane, Radio Raheem has those metal playthings on his hands. So one says love, and the other one says hate. That has a great message, but it also was an homage to Night of a Hunter. So essentially, he goes there and he meets her. She's a widow, and God, I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give his movie away. This is really fantastic. Directed by actor Charles Wadden. This movie is brilliant. The movie is almost shot like a silent film, in a way. So a lot of the shots in this movie are shot like a silent movie, which unfortunately, there's not very many movies like this nowadays, but oh my god, the way that it was done was exquisite, and I would show this to anybody. Next, we have a somber one, La Strada, directed by Federico Fellini. Yes, I have seen 8.5. I have seen Matt. I think it's a great film. But I think of all the Federico Fellini films, at least the ones I've seen, La Strada is my personal favorite. Federico Fellini's wife, Giuliana... blanking on her name. Every time I try to do this video, I always blank on what her name is. Giulietta Massini. Yeah, Giulietta Massini was Fellini's wife at the time. And so the plot involves her being sold off to this macho man performer played by Anthony Quinn. He does not treat her very well. In fact, he could really care less about her. But she believes in hope for herself. Despite the hardships that she's going through, she still believes in hope for humanity. That's basically what the story is about. It's not the kind of film that you can just pop on and enjoy. This is one of those movies where you have to really think about it, and also be in the right frame of mind. Because if you're not in the right frame of mind, you are not going to enjoy this. I guarantee you that. But it does deal with life's hardships, and it can sometimes be mean-spirited, but there is at the same time hope, and that's what she tries to believe in throughout the film. But it's a masterpiece for sure. Next up, we have The Last Emperor, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. Best Picture winner of 1987, winner of all 9 Oscars that it was nominated for. This is the true story of Pu Yi, who by the age of 3, he was elected Emperor of China. And as the title suggests, he ended up becoming the last Emperor of China. He actually ruled for many years, up until the 1950s, where he was thrown in prison. I would love to tell you more, but unfortunately, I never got a chance to finish this. I was watching on the Watch TCM app, and I was having internet problems, and this was before I got my internet fixed, and I never got a chance to finish this. But I knew that I was going to pick this up because this is a really well-made film. The cinematography is pure Bertolucci, all across the board. This is a film that really, it's visually pleasing. It tells a decent story. It's well made, well shot. It's even well acted, actually, because you don't really know what the movie's trying to say exactly, but it gets to you and it works. Good movie. Next up, we have The Irishman. Yes, I used to have Netflix. I used to, and I don't have it anymore. But when I did have Netflix, I watched a lot of the ones that were put out on Criterion. So The Irishman, Okja, Beast of No Nation, Roma, Mudbound, which is getting a release in 2024. The Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio film. This one, I gotta say, is really good. It's a this is a crime epic, but it tells it in a very compelling way. this is a true story of Frank Sharon, who he was a hitman who he got a phone call from, as the story goes, he got a phone call from Jimmy Hoffa, played by Al Pacino, who he essentially said to him, "I heard you paint houses," which is basically code word for I know that you make the walls red because you're a hitman and you kill people. So he gets hired by him, and over the course of 3.5 hours, you like see his life, kind of like how he essentially became his bodyguard, and this movie deals with toxic loyalty, as with most crime films. But Martin Scorsese, he sort of reinvented the crime genre. Films like Goodfellas and Taxi Driver and The Departed and Mean Streets. So he knows what he's doing when he's making this movie. And not to mention, it's not necessarily cut and dry. There are some parts where you have to kind of know the history in order to kind of like understand exactly what's happening. But yeah, really excellent film. I actually did see Martin Scorsese's latest film, Killers of a Flower Moon, another true crime story. But unfortunately, the issue I had with that movie was that there were parts where it basically dragged in several parts. Like, the dialogue just kind of dragged in a few areas. This movie is the same length, and so is Silence, another film he made. Both of these have similar length, and they're much more engaging. I'm not saying that Killers of a Flower Moon is bad. I'm saying that it's just more entertaining. It's more engaging for the viewer. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so we have 2 Akira Kurosawa movies. Rashomon, my personal favorite Akira Kurosawa movie. This is a fantastic film that I recommend to anyone. I understand that there are lots of people who won't watch international movies because they don't want to have to read the movie. But if I can recommend one Akira Kurosawa movie to at least start out with, it'd be this. I know Seven Samurai, which, by the way, let's talk about Seven Samurai for a minute. Seven Samurai is one of the greatest samurai films ever made. These group of samurai warriors are terrorizing this town, and so this one samurai hires 6 other samurais to defeat them. This is a great 3-hour trip right here. The cinematography is great, the acting is great. This was the inspiration for many films like The Magnificent Seven, and it's a great movie. I think a lot has been said about this movie already, so I'm just gonna there's a lot to these movies, which is why Criterion always puts out an editorial booklet in every single release to help you understand the context of the movie. But anyway, Rashomon. Seven Samurai is great, and it's a great Akira Kurosawa movie. However, if you're getting into Akira Kurosawa for the first time, I do not recommend that starting out. I recommend Rashomon. The plot is relatively simple. There are these 4 men who are standing, they're in the middle, they're hiding from a rainstorm. And they're telling a story of a murder. A samurai warrior, played by Kurosawa veteran Toshiro Mifune, he raped a princess and killed her husband, who was like a king, I believe. Yeah, it was like a king. However, that's all we know. That's because every single one of these guys have a completely different version of how the event happened. We know the gist of it. A samurai warrior raped a woman and killed her husband in the middle of the forest. That's all we know. That's the basic outline of the crime. That's what happened. But every single one of these guys presents a very different version of the events that before, during, and after. So each one of them has a different version of what happened. And you don't exactly know you don't exactly know who's telling the truth. You basically ask a question like, who's telling the truth? Who's lying? And if they're lying, why are they lying? Are they lying to get attention? Are they lying because they have something to prove? Are they boasting? Like, what are they doing? Who's telling the truth? And if they're telling the truth, where are they getting their sources from? Where is the truth coming from? There's always different questions you ask yourself throughout the movie, and it's absolutely brilliant. This movie inspired what was known as the Rashomon effect, which I don't exactly know what that term means just yet. I'm still learning about it, but this is a brilliant movie. And not to mention, it's an hour and a half, so you're able to digest it a lot easier. But yeah, this is a really well done film. My favorite Akira Kurosawa film. I also really liked, I did see Dreams. Dreams was good. Ran, I showed you Ran before. But I have another one. High and Low. Unlike Rashomon, that dealt with telling the truth, honesty, lying, and which version of the story is correct, High and Low tells the story of a rich industrialist whose son is kidnapped, and throughout the movie he sometimes wonders, like, why would somebody like me who has a lot of money go through this? Why would this guy who probably is, lower income and jealous of my wealth, what would he want with my son? So the movie is basically told in 3 acts. The first 2 acts are a thriller, and it's a well done thriller at that. And the third act essentially presents social commentary, and it's good social commentary. I don't want to give it away, but it's really well done. Some people say, like, Seven Samurai's the best Kurosawa film, Dreams, Ran, High and Low. Me, it's Rashomon, but other people can say, like, oh, High and Low is the best. It's all a matter of opinion, really. Next, we have my favorite Italian film. My favorite Italian film of all time. Bicycle Thieves. Directed by Vittorio De Viti. I'm so sorry I butchered that name. Vittorio De Sica. I apologize for butchering that name. The plot is very easy to digest. It's about a man who, he's struggling to find work. But remember, this is post-World War II, so jobs are scarce. And he finally finds a job. He's trying to find a way to provide income for his wife and son. And that job basically involves running around with a bike, putting up posters. But then his bike gets stolen, and he, along with his son, travel all throughout Italy to try and find it. Now, keep in mind that bikes in general, were not seen as high priority. Bikes were essentially used paper towels to them. They had no value. They had absolutely no value whatsoever. But he needs it. He needs the bike to live. He needs to provide for his family. He needs to, he wants to give his family a better life. But he can't without the bike. So it's vital that he finds it. So this is one of those movies that deal with neorealism, in a sense where it's sort of a realistic film, and it's heartfelt, it's dramatic, you really feel for him because he needs that bike to live, and it's very touching, all the things he goes through to try and find it. Stooping to every single, he tries everything he can to find it. There's actually a very poignant moment where they go inside a restaurant and they get themselves a nice meal, but then the father basically just sits there and he wonders, like, why am I even doing this? Why am I eating here? Why am I paying for this? Why? But again, it's very heartfelt because they don't have a good financial income, but it's raw, it's real. You really feel for these characters, and I don't want to give much away, but this is my favorite This is my favorite Italian movie. This is my favorite. I recommend this to anybody. If you could only watch one Italian movie, Bicycle Thieves is it. Next, we have probably one of the most disturbing films I had ever seen, The Passion of Joan of Arc. The script was taken from Joan of Arc's own trial transcripts, so there's a sense of realism there. This movie is amazing, but it's not for everybody. This movie, but sometimes those are the best movies. The woman playing Joan of Arc, Renee Falconetti, she gives this haunting performance. Somebody who is constantly mentally tortured by the court, the judge, the jury. They're stripping her down of her faith, and it's just so psychologically tortured throughout this whole ordeal. And the way that it's done is primarily through the use of cinematography. The cinematography, there's a lot of close-up shots, so it gives you a sense of claustrophobia. You know, you see what she sees. So there's a sense of realism and raw energy there. And it's just incredible. This is one of the best silent films I've ever seen, but it's also one of the most disturbing because of what happens in how she's essentially questioned of everything, them thinking that she's a witch. You know, if you know the story of Joan of Arc, you know what happened. But this movie is so... I don't want to give it away, but it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Next, I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Belle de Jour, directed by Louis Brunel. It's about a wife who does not really like her wife being the wife to this guy, and she's bored. She doesn't know what to do with herself, basically, so she experiments by posing as a prostitute. And yeah, this movie's pretty tame by today's standards. Remember, this came out in 1967. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good movie. Very different story structure. There's basically these dream sequences that don't really amount to anything, but it's kind of like, that's kind of like what she's thinking of. But yeah, it's a pretty decent film. I think it was good. I don't really know what to say, but it's another movie dealing with class, social classes and stuff. Next we have The 39 Steps. Of all of Alfred Hitchcock's early works, this is one of the best. This is one of the best easily. The plot involves a guy who discovers this group known as the 39 Steps, and so the people who know, he finds this woman who tells him about it, then something happens to her, and now he's on the run, but he's also trying to catch them. So, it's a conspiracy thriller, but it does it really well. I did see Blackmail, which was another early Hitchcock film. That was pale in comparison to The 39 Steps. I've also heard The Lady Vanishes was really good, so I'll have to check that out. But The 39 Steps is excellent. It's a great cat and mouse game, and it doesn't end the way you'd expect. Like, I don't expect you to, watch the ending and go, oh, well, I knew that would happen. No, it's a conspiracy thriller, cat and mouse chase that really... It's a good one. Next up, we have a film not for everybody, but it's a good film to watch. Blue is the Warmest Color. The film tells the story of two women, fresh out of, their last years of high school. One wants to be a teacher, the other one wants to be an artist. They meet twice. The first time they meet is when we're walking down the street, and the second time is when the aspiring teacher named Adele, she happens to meet her at a bar. And Adele's romantic life is, how do I say it? She's not romantically connected with her boyfriend on a sexual level. And so when she meets her, that is when she found the perfect partner. That is when she finally is free, essentially. This is a movie dealing with sexual freedom and sexual liberation and relationships. This is a very honest film about the relationship between these two people. And some people may look at this movie and go like, well, the movie's about sex. No, it's not. Yes, there are a couple of sex scenes in the movie. One goes on for way too long. I think that one goes on for like 5 some minutes, which can be bothersome because like it goes on for way too long. But when you're not seeing that, the movie is about relationships. The movie's not about sex. It's about relationships. It's another raw film dealing with relationships and kind of like how it blossoms and how it can deteriorate. This movie's 3 hours, but it's time well spent because you spend so much time with these two. You spend so much time with the people that they know. It sort of captures life in a way where most films of this nature kind of like just breeze by it. They don't even like acknowledge it, basically. But the chemistry between these two are, you feel it. You feel that you feel the connection between these two, and thus, you're connected. You connect with these two, and it does a really great job. But yeah, it's not for everybody. This is not a movie you can casually pop in and enjoy, but you have to be in the right mindset to watch it, if you're able to. This movie does connect with teenagers, well, older teenagers, somewhere between 18 to 20 age range. But if you're able to, it's worth checking out. But again, not for everybody. You have to be the right age. Older, high school, college age. Drifting away from that to something for everybody. Fantastic Mr. Fox. I'm not the biggest Wes Anderson fan, but I did love Fantastic Mr. Fox. Oh my god. Okay, the plot of this movie involves Mr. Fox and his eventual wife, played by Meryl Streep, and they essentially rob his place, and when they get captured, she asks him, when we get out of this, I need you to promise me that you are never going to rob farms, and I don't want you to go on any more heists, no more. And he promises her that. So they settle down, have a family of their own, but he can't exactly help his tendencies because he's a master craftsman. He loves to steal things. He loves to go on these adventures and stuff. Well, next door to them, there are these 3 farmers. I'm blanking on what their names are right now. Hold on. Bogus, Bunce, and Bean. That's her name. So, but yeah, they're living in this nice foxhole, this nice tree. A member of these 3 farmers who want to, farm. But Mr. Fox, he finds this a really good opportunity to do another heist against his wife's wishes. He has a son who's kind of withdrawn, but he's very smart and intelligent. He has all these other characters and such that know him and whatever, and this is a really well-made movie. The stop-motion animation is fantastic. Wes Anderson's never been my favorite director, but when he shines, he shines. Grand Budapest Hotel, Royal Tenenbaums, and this one. Now that I think about it, I think I like this movie better than Isle of Dogs, because the dialogue is so witty, so snappy, it has a world all its own, and thus you really connect with these characters and such, and it really does a great job. But it's sort of this world that exists in its own time, and it's great. It's like you're immersed in this world, and not to mention the characters are very memorable, with very different personalities and ways of thinking. It's great. I could go on forever, but I've got 2 more to talk about. Straw Dogs. Dustin Hoffman and Susan George play a couple who moved to England, because Dustin Hoffman has a teaching job there. But no matter where they go, they always seem to be peer pressured by these guys who just want to cause trouble. Even though it doesn't seem like it at first, it eventually builds into this thing where now they're essentially being preyed upon, and it comes to a point where they get terrorized, and so they have to fight back. This movie is an exploration of violence and how people have like violent, what causes people to have violent tendencies, and also what drives a person who doesn't believe in violence, what drives him to use violence as a last resort, as a means of protecting the person that he loves and cares about. So it's sort of an exploration on human behavior, and it does a really great job of that. Yeah, I know some parts may seem a little, again, Sam Peckinpah made a lot of these controversial films, like The Wild Bunch and Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, but this is easily one of his most in-depth, because it sort of explores human behavior. There is a remake of this, but for whatever reason, they made it more violent than the original, so I have no interest in checking that movie out at all. So, go watch the original. And finally, we have The Tree of Life, directed by Terrence Malick. Yes, I will pick up Days of Heaven, although I think that got re-released recently, which I'll pick that up before it goes out of print again. Thin Red Line and Badlands. This movie's great because it's a very spiritual film. The main story involves his family in the 1950s, Brad Pitt and Jessica Chastain. It deals with family life, existentialism, spirituality, the connection between Earth and the cosmos, the entire dynamic of life and existentialism, and it really shines. But not to mention, it sort of ties a coming-of-age story with these deep and spiritual themes. It's kind of like 2001: A Space Odyssey in a sense, where you kind of experience the movie rather than actually try to analyze it. You appreciate its themes, its cinematography, its storytelling. You understand how they connect, and it does it beautifully. Who else is in here? Sean Penn is in here. But yeah, nature, the cosmos, spirituality, life, existentialism, and a coming-of-age story sort of merge in this film. Actually, it's interesting, the Criterion edition has a director's cut with 50 minutes. It's 50 minutes longer than the theatrical cut, so I don't know what's on it, but I'll have to check that out in the future. Alright, so that is it for Criterion Hall. Thank you very much for joining, and yes, I was able to do this in one take. Great job. So, thank you for joining. Until next time, I will see all of you later.